As the leader of the Booner Path, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juice pumping, boys.
Oh, welcome to Crunch Time Sports, a Crunch Time Sports show with Jeff Iafrate and Booner. It is Tuesday, March 24th, day of the Brad Holmes interview. That was much anticipated. We teased it a little bit yesterday, and because we knew it was coming out today.
Yeah.
So it's been a fun couple of days kind of planning all of this. And, you know, to all the support on the stream, that I know it's officially out, which, by the way, go to Detroit Lions Collective on YouTube. Go watch the full interview. I posted a video kind of giving my thoughts, but I only covered a couple things that stood out to me. There's so much stuff in that 1 hour interview that Brad Holmes covered. Whether you like it or not, go watch the interview on Lions Collective. Go subscribe over there. I know we've been doing a really good job kind of resharing everything on our socials too, trying to raise awareness. So please follow us on social media as well to stay updated with all the stuff that's coming out. But I just want to say before we get started, wouldn't have been possible. I want to say thank you to a couple people here. Justin Rogers from the Collective, Eamon, Lions PR, obviously, of course, Brad Holmes, Lions general manager, just the Detroit Lions organization, allowing us to come down there in Allen Park and interview Brad Holmes. All the content that we were able to get today that we're going to repurpose and talk about for probably a long time, for as long as the content's relevant. But a lot of the stuff he talked about will be relevant for a while. So big thank you to all the people involved. It was an awesome experience for me. Listen, I say it consistently. I'm just a guy who talks to a microphone. I'm just a talking head. I give my opinion. And when I get to do things like that, it reminds me how blessed I am, how blessed we are, and the people that support Crunch Time Sports are able, to make things like this happen. So it wouldn't have been possible without you guys. So much appreciated. But it was a fun day, Booner. It was a fun day. And today's show, we're covering all the stuff, some things I didn't even mention earlier, things I weren't able to get to on the 1 hour interview. We're going to cover it all on the show tonight. So it should be a great one. So everyone who's tuning in, hit the like button on the stream. And I appreciate you.
Hey, that was very well said, Jeff. I'm proud. First off, I'll say I'm proud of you. That was a sick interview today. I've known for a little bit now, and yesterday too. You did drop a couple hints on the show. You slid in a couple things like, man, I wish I could. Like, if I ever got to sit down with Brad, like, then I was like, okay, man, like, come on, you're gonna give it away, which was hilarious. But yeah, no, it was cool. We knew it was gonna happen, and obviously, like, I feel like that was such a big one moment, obviously for you, but as well as like everyone, I think the Lions Nation has been waiting to kind of hear from Brad Holmes, and no one knew when it was going to come. And obviously, he spoke at the combine, and no one really got the clarity fully at the combine of the off season. And then even like if you want to take it a step further, free agency happened, and no one really knew what Brad was thinking, and there was all these moves that were made, and obviously the edge rusher stuff, the offensive line stuff, you let a lot of the players kind of walk in the defense. There was just a lot of different moving parts over the last few weeks since the combine. And I'll say this too. I'll give credit to Brad Brad usually doesn't do things like this. Like, we don't ever see Brad do sit downs and conversations. He only usually does it, at training camp, when he has to talk to 97-1 or even like, his post-season one or the post-trade deadline one, like whenever they're like, hey, Brad, you have to talk to the media, he does it. Like, this was something that I feel like Brad didn't have to do at the end of the day. And it felt like he wanted to kind of give some clarity to the people, which I think was like a good thing for a GM to do, because GMs don't have to do that. Like, how often do NFL GMs like sit down, with local reporters and actually do a full hour of just covering, like, this is what our mindset is. This is why we did what we did with this. This is why, all these different things. And obviously, like, for the people who like might think like they're not listening, like, no, like the Lions front office, these people, they listen. They understand that fans want to win, and they understand that. And I think that's why this interview kind of took place, was so, and that's at least in my opinion. So, they're able to kind of, hey, we hear you guys, and we're working to try and go win a Super Bowl. And I think you guys all killed it, man. Like, the crew that you guys had there, everything, you guys absolutely killed it. I thought you killed it too, Jeff. Hosting, like, dominated it. And also, too, if you guys want to watch it, go watch it on Lions Collective. Make sure you go watch it over there. Go watch it. And like it and support them. And so, but most specifically, go watch it. Don't watch our clips. Go watch that. Don't watch our clips.
Yeah, well, I will say it was nice for me. It was nice. I want to make this very clear. Like, I'm just happy I got to be a part of it. I'm just super blessed. Justin and Will and Colton, those guys are pros. You know, they get to go to the press conferences and they ask the questions that we react to and talk about. So those guys are the pros, man. I was happy just to be there. It was an amazing experience, super blessed. And to meet Brad Holmes, I think it's, you know, for me, I know people I saw, like, I was getting tagged like, oh, Jeff, I hope you keep the same energy, man. You know, go over there and
a lot of tweets I saw of people when guys, people found out this was happening.
It's not, to me, like, this is how I look at this whole thing. And I do not want to be associated with the crowd where it's like, okay, I criticize Brad Holmes. So that means I hate the guy. I don't hate the guy. You know what I mean? I don't. I criticize him when things are bad. I give him a lot of praise when things are good. I think that's how it should be. I think you guys support Crunch Time Sports and me and Booner for that reason. I think we're honest and we give you our opinion, whether it's great or whether it's bad. And I think Brad understands that. Like, I don't think I need to go in there and be like a hard ass. And, you know, I thought we asked great questions. I thought he handled some of those questions really well. I'll tell you this, like, it's, I'll tell you this, when I got in there, you know, I shook his hand and, you know, got to talk to him a little bit. And I was like, this guy's cool, man. I was like, this guy's cool. He's a cool guy. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I'm not going to sit here and lie. He's a nice guy. And I think that goes back to his background in PR. Like, he's just he's just a good dude. Like, you're talking to him, you're like, wow, he's a good dude, you know? And then I'm like, damn. But then I'm like, no, step out of it, Jeff. Like, you know what I mean? You're fair in what you say, but then it's like, he just has that, like, charm about him. You know what I mean? Yeah. I can see why he's gotten to where he's gotten to. He's got this, like, GM charm to him. But it was nice, you know, to be able to meet the person. I think, you know, he's a great guy, very welcoming. Took the time to answer every one of our questions, and, you know, it was super cool. So we'll get to all the topics we covered. We talked about free agency. We talked about the draft. We talked about Taylor Decker, his exit, the David Montgomery trade, you know, the edge position again. You know what I mean? The edge position again, we did cover. Why is the doc? What is this? What's this, Doc?
That is unbelievable. Brad could be watching right now. Brad could be watching right now, and he sees that, and he goes, "Oh, this is what this Jeff guy's about."
You're a sicko, Doc.
Sicko.
I mean, this guy's an absolute sicko. So we'll start. We'll play.
By the way, hey, Jeff, congrats, by the way, dude. I'm unbelievable for you, brother. Happy for you.
Bro. Hey, honestly, I walked in there, billboarded out.
A lot of crunch time gear on.
I told the guys, I walk in there, I'm like, I got a billboard on me, dude. I'm walking crunch time. I mean, I had crunch time underwear. That's what's being reported. I had crunch time underwear. I had crunch time socks.
We sell that?
I had crunch time, everything. I almost had crunch time on my forehead. I almost thought about it. I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. I almost walked in there with a crunch time tattoo. So now
Brad knows what crunch time is. He knows crunch time.
There's no choice. He's got no choice but to know what crunch time is. So I was dialed in. I was absolutely dialed in. But I want to play some of the clips from the interview. The first one I'll play is him talking about the 1-year deals. And, you know, I'm curious to see what you guys, because I want to get your guys' perspective, because I want to know how the interview was interpreted by people that were watching it, because I didn't get to watch it fully today. I've been so wrapped up in so much stuff, but I watched clips of it, and then I also remember most of it from being there. So let's take a listen, and then we'll talk about it. But here's Brad Holmes talking about free agency and the 1-year deals.
We were in.
Mm-hmm. Are we allowed to play these clips, Jeff?
It had to take a lot more looking at everybody from top to bottom. You know, when you have more money to spend and lesser constraints financially, you can do a lot more focus on just the mid to upper echelon guys. And you don't have to really you can get to the, let's call them tier 2 and 3 and 4 guys a little bit later. But when we're looking at the constraints that we had financially entering in, it's like, okay, all right, we're not going to be able to do a lot of multi-year deals because for what we're trying to do with these extensions that we have upcoming, the implications that it would have on our cap would be, I don't want to call it crippling, but it would have been hard to overcome. Guess I could say. So we were kind of limited in how many multi-year deals that we actually could get, and that takes apart. We can want that, but then the player and the agent has to agree to it too. And so,
that was his reasoning for basically why Brad didn't sign multi-year deals. That is his explanation. That is the basis of what he just said. He said and he also mentioned too, and I told you this earlier on the phone. He mentioned in there, hey, we don't necessarily look at these guys that we signed on 1-year deals as prove-it players. They look at some of these guys as hey, these guys can be actual contributors. I think there's some guys that could apply to, like Roger McCreary. I think he could be a legit contributor year one for 1 year. Tyler Conklin, I certainly think so. Isaiah Pacheco, maybe that's more of a prove it based on the injury, in my opinion. But I understand why the 1-year deals are a common thing in the NFL. Lions have done it a lot over Brad's tenure.
Yeah. But
you could still find, look at AQM 1-year deal. So to give him some credit, some of them make sense, and maybe some of them, like Peyton Turner, where I understand why there'd be some pushback. But all the points he made about them being salary capped, I don't think there's anything you can really push back on that about because it's we know they're going to be strapped for cap. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they're already strapped for cap. They're already trying to figure out the money thing. That's why all these $1 million deals. I keep saying, you have a bunch of $1 million men on your team right now, and to his point in that too, the only thing, it's the only pushback I think that there is, it's hey, and he said it at some point in the interview too, we were just signing guys because it was going, he mentioned, it was going so fast from 2021, 2022 when they're drafting all these high level players, right? He broke down today how within 2 or 3 years they got 7 players essentially that are first round graded and need these contracts because Amon-Ra is technically a couple years down the line a first round pick that's getting first round money. Jared Goff, you trade for him, that's top of the, he broke it down. There's 7-8 guys that turn into the first round talent because of how they've played. And he actually mentioned, and I don't know if you took it this way, Jeff, but in the moment he was we were just going and going and going, and we were signing and drafting and signing and drafting and signing and giving extensions. And he was and then it was boom, oh, wait a second. And he was you realize we're just what are we doing? Oh, whoa, we don't have the money to do all this. And that's where it sounds if there's any pushback, you could be hey, hindsight, maybe you shouldn't have signed all of these guys, right? Because now you're in a strapped cash position of you don't have the money now and you don't have a choice. And I think that's Brad's point. And I don't think he's wrong with the point. I think the only pushback is maybe, a couple years ago, they should have went down a different road of not signing every single one of those 7 or 8 guys, right? That's where I think maybe it's a different road you could have gone down if you were Brad. But you see the point to where it's yeah, they really don't have money. And I do think there is a world where they could have restructured a lot of those guys like Panay and Amon-Ra and ponied up the cash. But again, like he said, I mean, it's honestly, Jeff, it's nothing that we haven't said, over the last few weeks. Yeah, you're going to cripple yourself essentially. And it's if you want to go in for a Super Bowl, you can do it, but you are going to cripple yourself long-term. And then it's you have to fight your way out of that. But you at least went all in for a Super Bowl. And that's where I think he kind of explained it. And I think he gave clarity to where, listen, they're not going to go all in and restructure all these big contracts, and they're not going to do that. And he kind of doubled down on that today in that clip saying, we're not going to do it because we don't want to be crippled for money. We're straight up just going to try and get these cheaper deals. We're going to keep paying our guys, and you have to deal with that. And that's how we're going to try and win a Super Bowl, because it's the sustained success thing. Obviously, there's another video too that he was talking about. Oh, someone literally just put it in the chat, Steve, sustained success. And he actually talked about that today too. So that's kind of how I took it. And I think that just confirmed, we were wondering if Brad was ever going to kind of say, screw it. Let's switch you said that, I think yesterday or the day before, like, let's switch how we're doing this and let's completely kind of flip this thing and try and go for a Super Bowl. I think you just got confirmation with that today that they're not going to do that. So like, as much as we keep talking about it, it's kind of just beating a dead horse because they are going to go cheap contracts and they're going to pay their guys. Like they've already paid so many. It's hard to even get out of that.
Yeah. I think you have to like, I mentioned yesterday, if you're Brad Holmes, you have to think like, man, I've gotten this far doing it this way. And, we might be taking a step back or we had moments of, adversity. Does that perhaps force us to change our process? And I think that's something Brad would have to decide. And to your point, like today, he reiterated that it's not going to change how I build a roster. I think the sustained success argument is a great ideal argument. Like it's ideally what every franchise should chase, right? Like that's what sustained success is. But my point has always been like, it's hard in the NFL to have, when you talk about sustained success, I mentioned teams like, Kansas City or some of these dynasties, if you want to go, well, sustained success is what the Steelers have, like if you just make the playoffs and get bounced every year, like there's some teams or some people that like that and are okay with that. I think there's a lot of people that think like, man, I just want to go win a Super Bowl. And then after that, you restart and go build another Super Bowl. It's just all about winning the Super Bowl. And I don't think there's sustained success unless you have a Hall of Fame quarterback, Hall of Fame head coach. And I'm talking top 3 all time at each position. It's just hard. So that's where I always give pushback to Brad. Like I understand and doing it his way, he's drafted some really good players. Like, I mean, we talked about it with him and you mentioned it. He said it like, look at our first couple of years. I mean, he said, hey, we had 2 first-round picks. The first year after, we traded Matthew Stafford, 2 first-round picks. We extended those guys. The year after, we extended those guys. The year after, we extended, or the year before, the second-round guys, Sam Laporta and Brian Branch, we're going to extend those guys. So there's so many guys they've drafted that are all pro players, yet they have to sign all of them, which, like, I understand. I'm not saying to change your entire draft philosophy, but what I am saying is I think there has to be a little more urgency, and I've always said this with Brad, when it comes to trying to win a Super Bowl. And I think that's where people get frustrated, is there's this like, it's like he's just comfortable and he believes in his ways. And he's like, hey, we're going to build through the draft and we're going to sign our own guys. And then we're going to replace in the draft and then sign our own guys and then build in the draft. And then we'll sign a couple pieces here and there, cheap little contracts to kind of supplement and surround the guys we have. But it's like no team has only drafted their way to a Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to do something in free agency. And the one year he did do it, a really heavy lifting in free agency, everybody got hurt. So it sucks. You know what I mean? He signed, I think, DJ Reader, Carlton Davis traded for, and, Amik Robertson, and gave all these contracts. Everyone just got hurt. So it sucks. That was the year. But yeah, I think people just get upset because there's this it seems like a lack of urgency. But I think in his mind, he really believes he's being urgent. He just believes in his process. And I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not a big fan of his roster construction process, but I am a fan of his draft process because I do understand his draft because he's had success in the draft. I think roster construction is where people get upset. And I think that's rightfully so. Like signing guys that are hurt to be depth pieces, but they're hurt.
I think maybe that's something. I think that's where the problem, though, just comes into where they the construction part of it is you have to spend the money on the guys you have. You can only get guys that are hurt because that's the price range you're in. Right, like you're not going to get a solid player that's not an injury-prone player or hurt player at $1.8 million. It just won't happen. So I think that's kind of where it falls. And I think in his mind, into kind of his points of all of this as well. Like he even mentioned, like there was a quote in it today where he was like, "We're spending all the money that we have." Like I want people. Like he gave the example, like, "Hey, if you have $20 million." You want to get in, let's say you're like he gave the example, the 20 million budget thing where he was like, if you only have $20 million to spend in free agency and you go get an $18 million tackle or an $18 million edge, you have no more money to go get anyone else. Like you're done. So he was like that at that point. And I think honestly, I don't know if they had 20 million, but I think he was like insinuating like we only really had like 20 or 30 million. We didn't have that much money. And I think he was trying to tell the people there, like, listen, like, I know we could restructure. If we restructure, we're screwed down the line. So I think he was more so in that moment telling people like, hey, we only have really 20, 30 million. If I would have gotten a big time player, we're not filling this roster out. And there's even worse players around. Right. And I think that's why like the Cade Mays thing, like that's what, 8 million or whatever it was. Like, you know, you look at some of these guys, the secondary guys he got for 2 million or whatever it was, like they do add up. And if you only have $20 million, it does add up quick to where if you get 5 guys at 2 million, that's already half of the money right there. And then you have a center at like 6 to 8 million, you're almost to 20 there. So I think there's a sense of like, I do understand, but there is a still side of like, hey, if you're going to approach it that way, you do have to understand that there is going to be pushback if there are guys who won. If you're going to move on with or play with guys that are cheap deals and prove it deals, they have to still perform. Like the prove it deals, it just puts more pressure on those prove it deals to perform. To where if you aren't cap strapped for money and you do a prove it deal, it doesn't have to work because you already have another edge rusher, or you already have this, or you already have that. Like the prove it deal, there's less pressure on that. But the position I think that they're in right now and the approach that he has taken puts a lot of pressure on that. Like it really does. And it makes it to where, all right, like these guys have to work now. And if they don't, you're kind of screwed because those are guys that now have to play. Because he didn't mention today, he was like, some of the guys that we signed for cheap, like they end up being really big pieces for you. And it's like, yeah, that's because like you don't have any other pieces. They're your starters. Like you're signing some of these guys because there's injuries and stuff, and they're starting for you. So like that's why I think it turns out the way it does. But again, I do understand like the sense and the mindset of it. Now, whether you disagree or agree with the approach that they're taking and Brad is taking, I think it's just a whole nother story on that.
Yeah, I think what Shoeprint just said in the chat is actually pretty spot on to what I've been saying, and I think everyone's probably frustrated about, like Shoeprint. Isn't it his fault for not taking a swing when all those guys are on rookie contracts? I think it's not as much. I think what he's trying to say, and I agree with it, I've been saying this, it's not that they don't have money right now. I understand. Given you've paid a lot of players, they have less money. I get that. The issue is going back to when guys were on rookie deals, you weren't aggressive enough. Now, the passes, they can't really do anything about that. Now we're here. We're in 2026. Even to your point about like, well, you know, he's saying we can't restructure more contracts because it might put us in a predicament. Like, dude, the Eagles, they just restructure everybody. You know what I'm saying? They just restructure everybody and say, we'll deal with it when we deal with it because we're trying to win right now. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to capitalize right now. I think that's where people get frustrated is like, why are the Eagles saying F the cap? We're just restructuring all these deals. It's going to catch up to us at some point, but we're going to go and try and win a Super Bowl until it does. Then there's the Lions where the Lions are trying to play this long game when they haven't won a playoff game in 2 years. It's like, just you know what I'm saying? Just, I mean, you have less resources, but people are just like, why'd you leave $13 million on the table? It's like the $20 million argument. What about $33 million? What about an extra 13 in there? Can we throw in a little 13 million? That's like Cam Jordan's contract. Could we toss that in there?
Why not? Like that's where I think today, like on maybe you should have hit him with the follow-up. Hey, why not restructure just a little bit more? Like why are you like, hey, we're not going to do the full Jared Goff contract. We don't feel like we need
Honestly, there's so many we didn't get to because of the time constraint. That would have been a great question that we weren't able to get to. I wish we would have been able to ask more about that process because that's where I'm really interested. Is like why leave so much money maybe on the table? I understand why you don't restructure everybody, but like Amon-Ra Penei, like
especially if you do know that they're like instead of like, dude, you're doing in free agency. You've done this team has done 5 or 6 prove it deals, maybe even more than that. That feels like a lot more prove it deals than a normal NFL franchise. Like. Almost every contract you did in free agency, which they did say, like Brad was like, hey, we really feel comfortable and we love what we did in free agency. Like we felt like, and I don't know, I don't remember if I put the tweet out yet. I did have the clip of him saying it. So I don't know if it's there, Jeff, on our Twitter. But the clip of him essentially just being like, we knew we had to nail free agency. Like we knew we had to. Like that was going into this offseason. We knew that this offseason free agency was something that we had to nail as a franchise coming off the year that we did. So like saying that, but then also being like, all right, we need to nail it. And then boom, all these prove it deals. That's where I think the disconnect might be from the fan base to the organization. You see what I'm saying? Like that's where I can see where people are a little confused in regards to that, because I understand the prove it deals and the way Brad broke it down. And I also do understand that they might feel like they like some of the players they got. But realistically, if you do break down every contract that they got, are the Wings losing? I saw Easy say I had to turn off the Wings. They must be losing. But if you break down every contract that they did in free agency, dude, you can make an argument all but Cade Mays was a prove it deal. Was there a not a prove it deal outside of Cade Mays? No, like all of them are. And that's where it's like, we have to nail this free agency. So we're going to give out 10 for prove it deals. That's a little like, I could see the worry.
But they just don't look, I guess Brad just doesn't look at it like prove it deals. He thinks and
yeah,
I think the organization feels like, hey, like Roger McCreary isn't a prove it deal. Like we think he's a good player.
He did
say
Tyler
Conklin is a good player. Like we think Isaiah Pacheco, he really did, by the way. He really likes Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, he does. And he's not worried at all about the injury. He's not worried. He didn't even I think Colton fouled up and he was like, oh yeah, I'm not worried about that. Brushed it off completely, which I'm not saying I'm just saying he really is confident that there's nothing going to slow this man down, which could very well be right. Isaiah Pacheco.
He did bring something up.
We are pro Isaiah Pacheco, but like I'm like, what do you know that? Do you know something that we don't know? Maybe like medical.
Did you hear what he said though about the free agents though?
No, what'd he say? Well, I was there, but I don't know. I actually don't know what he said. Like, go on.
He said no.
I was like, wait, what'd he say?
Bro, so he essentially he just said like the trust within this personnel department or his scouting department. Like, I'm sure you have the pro scouts that they have that go around and watch games and evaluate upcoming free agents. He had brought up like, listen, there are things that they take into account. Like they look at the not like when I say position, I don't mean like the actual position, the running back, but I'm saying like the position on the team that like an Isaiah Pacheco is in, and the circumstance that he's in, and like why is he not getting the touches? Why is he not playing? Why is this happening? And he was like, when we kind of broke that down in our personnel department and our scouting department sees that, it gives me more confidence, essentially, he was saying, to be able to go after a player like that. So like that's where I think I do get a little bit of confidence hearing that from Brad, to where they do have a really good scouting department. We've seen that obviously with a lot of different players. And like, to be quite frankly, like look at like guys like Amik Robertson. Like you go out there, no one really, like we knew who Amik Robertson was, but no one thought he was going to be a starter on this team. You thought that was a prove it deal. And the scouting department goes out, they find Amik Robertson, they sign him to a deal, and he ends up being a pretty decent piece for your defense. I know towards the end people didn't really like him and thought that he struggled, but realistically, like for a good amount of time, that was a good signing for the price that you had him at. And I think like the guys like Isaiah Pacheco and stuff, I think that's how they look at him, to where, hey, we've scouted him all year. He's going to be 1.8 million. He's worth way more than that, Brad. And Brad's like, okay, like let's do it then. If like you think he's worth 4 million and we're somehow getting him at 1.8 because from the outside looking in, it doesn't look that good, then all right, let's do it. So maybe that's like the thought process that goes in behind. That's what it sounded like from him, at least.
The thing I'm so curious about too is like, okay, you sign Isaiah Pacheco for 1.8 million, which is nothing, by the way. Like it's a risk-free deal. He's a great locker room presence. We know what he can be when he's healthy. The problem is the last 2 years he hasn't been healthy. So that's people's biggest gripe is like, he hasn't really been healthy. Are you putting too much faith in a guy that maybe hasn't necessarily been as healthy? But then I think you brought this up, and maybe you deserve more credit for this, because Brad kind of addressed what you said in a different way. But he didn't even argue it like Isaiah Pacheco is going to be able to handle the carries. Like he started with Jahmyr's role is bigger now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like people, like you brought this up where it's like, he's not going to get David Montgomery carries. Like Isaiah Pacheco is going to get like a couple carries a game. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying 3, but you get what I'm saying. He's probably going to get, honestly, what
going to be under 10. Yeah.
Like 8
like
9,
7 to 10 carries. In some games it might be 6 or 7. In other games it might end up being 10 or 11 if Jahmyr's not playing well.
It's going to be the Gibbs show.
There's an injury.
They think he can be this year.
And I think that's a big difference in deciding. Like a lot of people hated the Isaiah Pacheco signing, including like Klotz and Caleb. And the reason they're like, oh, you're replacing him with DMont. And like, it's, hey, you're not replacing D-Mont anymore. Like, that's not a position of need anymore. You're now like replacing D-Mont of 2025, not of 2024 or 2023. And that's where I think people with this Isaiah Pacheco thing do need to realize that. And the one thing with Pacheco, I know he didn't score a lot of touchdowns. They didn't give him a lot of touchdown or red zone touches, but he is a short yardage guy. Like, he's a guy that converts to short yardage. So if you are looking for kind of that goal line back, Pacheco can be that for you. And you're not going to replace D-Mont fully as like from top to bottom, but there are certain parts, I think, of his game that you're looking to kind of fulfill. And Pacheco kind of does bring that to the table.
Let me see. Someone just said, Ken said, I think about 22 to 25%-ish.
Yeah, it's probably fair, to be honest. I mean, what was D-Mont getting? 40 for a while, and then like 35.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we also have to people forget this. He said at his press conference, I had like 8 offers. You know what I'm saying? He had offers on the table. Like, he had an offer to go back to Kansas City. And I'm sure Kansas City was going to use him to be their RB2 with Kenneth Walker. I'm sure they looked at it as that as well, but he wanted a change of scenery. He wanted to be in Detroit. And he probably saw how they utilized David Montgomery. But, like, he had offers, dude. Like, he wasn't cooked. Like, he was going to be not on a team and at home. But the risk is really just how healthy will he be? What will he look like when you do use him after that injury? That's really the question.
Can we agree? Brad cleared up the David Montgomery stuff. I think after the today, I think it was clear that they obviously didn't want to move on. It was D-Mont the whole time. There's been people who said that Jeremy Fowler was lying, and there's still people to this day who cover the team who will insinuate D-Mont never wanted out. He never wanted out. Well, no, like, he did, and today was a very, very where Brad was like, "Hey, I came together on a solution. Like, we all worked together to get the deal done." And Brad made it known today, telling, like, when you say, "Hey, I told you to tell the agent we're not moving on from him if there's not a good deal. If I don't get a good enough deal, we're not just going to give him away." When you say, "Hey, we're not just going to give him away," what does that insinuate? That the agent was asking for D-Mont to leave. Like, that's what it was. Like, Brad was willing to keep D-Mont, and obviously D-Mont and them were asking out. And he said, "All right, you'll go out, but we're not going to just give you away." And obviously D-Mont's market was very good. And Brad said today that there was a lot of teams that actually offered for him. And there was a lot of teams that were in play for David Montgomery. But it was just one of those things to where, hey, I'm glad today we got to clarify that, because I think a lot of people out there were pushing this narrative that the media was lying. Don't listen to the media. They're liars. No, D-Mont wanted out. Like, it's all right. Sometimes players want better opportunities.
Now, I do want to play the clip because you referenced it. Here's Brad Holmes talking about David Montgomery and how that transpired.
I know you and Dan both mentioned you wanted him back. Can you kind of just walk through the timeline of how, that all came to be with him going to Houston and the return you got?
Yeah. Look, it was pretty. It was evident that there were less touches that he had. And look, a lot of it is it's not just him. It's how Jahmyr had ascended. And so, me and David's agent, we all had really, really healthy dialogue, and so we just kind of thought it was best for all parties. It was right after the end of the season that, let's just see if, we can get the proper return. Because I told his agent, I was just like, look, this guy's a good player, man. Like, we're not just giving him away, so we were happy with the return that we got. I'm happy for David. I think he's in a good spot, but that's going to be not only a loss of just a player, but he was such an impact on our locker room from a leadership standpoint, our culture. But it was all healthy dialogue. There was never any bad blood or anything, and I think it worked out well for both parties.
Now, what I will say about this clip and what I got from, Brad Holmes, and they love Jahmyr Gibbs, clearly. They love David Montgomery. They didn't want him to go. But to your point, David probably felt like, you know what, at this point, I'm not getting any younger. I'm not being utilized as I once was. Jahmyr's kind of, I think this is a great way to put it. Where's this comment? Edward put it so well. D-Mount was training wheels for Gibbs until he felt comfortable. I think they know, like, it's time to take the training wheels off, which, in my opinion, this year, not that Gibbs has to prove to anybody he's talented. He is super talented. He is one of the most talented running backs in the NFL. I think this year, for me, what I'm looking for out of Gibbs is to prove that he can handle the workload. And what I mean by that is game to game, week to week, month to month, just consistently showing like, hey, I can be someone that gets 15, 20, 23 carries, maybe even 25 touches in a game, and I can be consistent. Or, because you're not going to hit, you're going to have moments in a game where you run, it's going to be 2 yards. You know what I mean? You're not going to be productive every time you get the ball. But I think last year there were just moments, and maybe it was the O-line, maybe it was this, whatever it was. There was just moments where like David would get the ball and you'd be like, oh, 4 or 5 yards. And then Jahmyr would get the ball. It'd be like 2 yards, 2 yards. So I'm looking for more consistency out of Gibbs this year with an improved O-line. We'll see what happens in the draft. And I think that's, the report. Do you see the report Adam Schefter put out? They want to extend Gibbs this offseason. He said that at least.
Yeah.
We'll get to it as well. But like, I think this is that year for Gibbs to kind of prove to him, maybe to himself, like, hey, I miss David. David's my guy. But like this, it's the Jahmyr Gibbs freaking show. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm taking this thing over. I'm taking most of the carries. I'm taking most of the touches. And we don't even need Isaiah Pacheco. If he wants to come in and get some touches, cool. But I'm gonna be the guy that gets 1,500 rushing yards, 700 receiving yards. Like, I'm gonna go for 2,000 yards of scrimmage. Like, that's what I'm looking for out of Jahmyr Gibbs this year to kind of tie up. Because if you're gonna be paid like it's like a top running back, top running backs can handle like that type of workload. And
yeah, I was going to say, I mean, if there's an extension that's about to get done and there's something that gets done this offseason, like it's no longer, it's the same thing I said with the Lee McNeil when that deal got done. And then obviously hasn't really lived up to it. It's, hey, when you do have a big deal and you get paid one of the top, contracts at your position, guess what? That comes with expectations, right? Like,
absolutely,
it changes quick, and you're on a rookie deal right now. Obviously there's still expectations for you. But if you don't play well, it's still a cheap deal. You know what I mean? We had D-Mount at the time to be able to kind of make up for it. If you get this deal and you guys, extend Jahmyr Gibbs, hey, you got to have a big year, and there's no excuse for it. Like that offensive player of the year, if you're going to get paid $20 million as a running back, that's a realistic, like, hey, you need to be in that conversation. And if you're not in that conversation year after year, then we probably should have went a different way. And to your point, Jeff, how you say don't pay running backs, you can always draft new ones and get new ones. Like, then it's like, hey, if you're not in that offensive player of the year conversation, I think that's a good way to measure it. Then what are we paying you $20 million for as a running back? Why are you a top tier paid, running back in the NFL? It's the same thing as like a wide receiver, right? Like, I'm not going to pay a wide receiver at this point with the way the market is $40 million if you're not going to be in that offensive player of the year conversation.
JSN just
like he just won one. Like, okay, you win one, you deserve that money. Puka was second in that, and he arguably could have won it. He's probably going to get $40 million. Like, these guys, like, that's where I think, like, to your point, Jeff, hey, paying running backs, I think the only way, hey, I'm willing to pay a running back the top 3 money or a receiver, be in that conversation. Like, if you're in that conversation, I think that's the kind of the one-off. But if you're not, all right, we're probably not going to pay you that much. If we can get you for 12, okay, cool. But obviously Jahmyr is going to be a $20 million back, and you're going to have to pay that money this offseason. I'm actually very interested over the next few months. And a lot of these extensions, obviously the Hutch one went into October, the Aleem one went late, but a lot of the other ones have been around the NFL draft. I don't know if there's a reason behind that, but majority of them have been around that time. I'm going to kind of be sitting on the edge of my seat to see what that price is. And I'm interested, like guaranteed money, all of that. I'm so interested to see how they structure a Jahmyr Gibbs contract extension to see what the price is. But my guess, market's going to get broken, and that's going to be like the 5th time on this football team that you've broken the market and you've reset the market.
That's why, like I said, and it's like you can disagree with it. I think you're warming up to the idea of waiting, but I just don't think you definitely should not pay him right now.
And they're going to, though. They're going to.
Yeah, and they're going to. Based on what Adam Schefter said, I would think he knows what he's talking about. And honestly, based on what Brad said today, I think they want to get that. He did say we don't have a price, we don't have a time frame for like, the guys they want to pay. But I was talking to you today about it. Like, I just think Brad is set, and maybe this is why they haven't really been active as much as active, is because I think he's dead set on, and maybe this is why they didn't restructure more money. I don't know. Paying everybody. I think he wants to pay Jack. I think he wants to pay Jahmyr. And I think he wants to see what Brian Branch looks like in Sam Laporta because he wants to pay them as well. I think he wants to keep all 4 of those guys. I really do.
Yeah, I do think there's a world, though. He did mention today, and it's the second time that he's mentioned it. Earlier this year, I don't remember if it was the postseason one or the combine. He did bring up a point, though, that, some guys are going to get paid, but some aren't. And he did say that injuries they're taking that into an account a little bit. And it's like, hey, if you're injured, you still have to, he didn't say, obviously today he said like, we don't, obviously we'll take into account, but it's not something that always matters. But I do think there's a world to where I wouldn't be shocked if like a Brian Branch and Sam Laporta extension got postponed until the end of next year. And obviously they're free agents, so they're on a final year. And you know what, actually, I thought of today when he actually brought up whoever asked him about the contracts with those guys. You know what I thought of, Jeff? I think there's a chance that Brad's trying to get some of the extensions done with Laporta and Branch now. And it's something that not everyone's thinking of where, hey, there is an argument if you're Brad going to the agent being like, hey, your player's coming off an Achilles. Like, we'll give him an extension. If you want an extension in 2025, like right now before the season starts, or 2026, before the season starts, it's a cheaper deal. Like you're not getting top, safeties are at what, 24 million, right? You're not getting 24 million, Brian.
Yeah, no.
Like we'll give you 17, we'll give you three years, 17 million, but we're not giving you 3 or 4 years for 25 million breaking the market. Like you're not, and I think it's the same thing with Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta had a heck of a rookie year. But he's been hurt ever since. Year 2, he had the hamstring, and throughout the year, he struggled a little bit. And then obviously in year 3, he had this back issue, and he missed half of the season. So I think there's an argument for Brad Holmes' camp and the Lions organization to go to Sam Laporta's camp and say, hey, we want to re-sign you now, but it's got to be at a cheaper deal. Like we're not giving you the $20 million that these other guys are getting. We'll give you $14 million because 2 of the 3 years that you played for us, you've been injured essentially. And I think that's something that no one's really talked about. But I thought of it today when he got asked that question. I was like, I wonder if there's a world where he does get all these contracts done, but 2 of the 3 of them are a lot cheaper than people think because these guys have been injured.
Now, I want to get to some of these super chats, and then because one of them involves a clip we're going to play in a little bit here. Mike Reed, appreciate the 5. Jeff making boss, hanging with Brad. You deserve it, bro. You work your ass off. Shout out. What's up, Booner in chat? Appreciate you, Mike Reed. Thank you, brother, for always supporting us. Appreciate it, bro. Blitzing Lion, thank you for the 5. He says, you should have asked why defense wasn't up to par. Was it scheme or players because we never had a top 5 defense, or him to approach it differently? I'll say this. Like, I'm going to play the clip. I'm always accountable. Wasn't in love with the way I phrased that question. I'm going to be honest. Like, I wanted to ask him about the defense. He spoke about, like, it's hard to really know because we have to see this defense out there. He said the year prior, he said there's been years where they didn't know what type of defense they would look like. And then they saw the defense and they were like, oh, it's better than we expect or whatever. So I was like, okay. So I was trying to navigate that live. I definitely could have phrased that question better. Because my biggest thing going into it is I want to ask him about the defense. Like, I want to ask him about Super Bowl matchups and be like, hey, these teams got top 5 defenses, man. Like, do you think you have a defense capable? And I kind of phrased it in like a way where it's like, do you have confidence Kelvin and these players can get to that point? Which, like, he took it and ran with like his confidence, which, like, we could play the clip in a second here, but like, I'll be accountable. Like, I probably could have been more specific. Like, where do you think the blame kind of lies there? Like, you think it's scheme, you think it's players. He probably would have answered it fine, and it wouldn't have been a bad question. So, I think that's hand up. Dio, so proud of you, Jeff. The guy on the other side of Brad is typically a slappy, so I never was a fan, but he laid it down today. I can see your face as he was answering some of those questions. What is it? The guy on the other side of Brad is typically a slappy. Are you talking about Justin Rogers? Is that who he's talking about? Was that? Am I reading that? I don't know what.
Probably, yeah.
I'm not sure. By the way, Justin Rogers. I know Justin Rogers disrespect. He's a good dude. He's a great guy. So that's your opinion, Dio. But I appreciate the $10, and I appreciate the support there, as always, my friend. But let's play this clip. And it's the defense. Him talking about the defense, and you guys can kind of hear what I'm talking about. I could have phrased it better, but here's Brad talking about the defense. So let's take a listen.
They have really good defenses or top 5 scoring defenses. Yep. And it's the tale of this time. Defense wins championships. Mm-hmm. Kind of what is your confidence level? I know you spoke about you won't know till you get to see the team on the field, but at least with retaining, pretty much every defensive coach and rolling this unit out, what's kind of your confidence level that they can get to that point or at least be an elite level defense?
Oh, high confidence. Yeah. Just because, look, the things that, the things that I thought Shep did last year and his evolution as a coach and him seeing the big picture was very encouraging. And so I think sky's the limit for him. And then with Dan and then the rest of our defensive coaches and then with the personnel that we have. Highly, highly encouraged and very excited about where this thing can go for sure.
Brad, I think this is not.
Yeah. So there's his answer, like to basically put, he's confident. He's confident in Kelvin Shepherd. He's confident in the defense. And I'm not going to say I agree. I mean, we've been pretty consistent. Like, I don't think the defense as constructed is, in my opinion, a defense that's going to be an elite unit. And I don't know right now if Kelvin Shepherd can be an elite defensive coordinator. This is one of those takes where it's like, hey, Brad feels confident. Dan feels confident. This is one of those like, hey, we're going to find out very quickly. Like, number one, if he can coach, if Kelvin Shepherd is a capable defensive coordinator, but also if you gave him enough tools on defense. Like, I think it's a little bit of both too. Like, we're going to find out if you gave him enough. You had some guys leave, and we're going to find out. Like, I wish we could have asked about DJ Reader. Like, are you bringing him back? Because all these guys are leaving. I mean,
DJ Reader hasn't signed anywhere. Roy Lopez gone. Amit gone. You've lost 3 starters on defense in free agency alone.
I don't know. Actually,
technically 4 AQM. I know AQM doesn't play on first and second downs, but he's kind of a third down guy. But still, like,
at least a contributor that had double digit sacks. Yeah, they did lose.
I do. It is. I think it is a little odd or a little like, okay, like I could see publicly being like, yeah, I have confidence in Shep, but I would think that there's a little bit of hey, there is an expectation, and we expect them to step up here and the Shep to have a bigger year. But I do feel like that was a disappointing season. And again, people will blame the injuries. I don't think you can like fully use as an excuse because
I think they probably do. I think they might even. I think they do blame the injuries.
Maybe, but I still think at the end of the day, you have to take some sort of responsibility and say, hey, there was like getting gashed by the run. Like you had your interior, you had Aleem and DJ Reader and Roy, and you had your starting linebackers. Like, how are you getting gashed by the run like that? And I think he did mention it today that we have to stop the run. Like, that's one of the big focuses that we have. But at the end of the day, it's like I can see why he's out here being like, yeah, we have confidence in them. But I think it's one of those things, take it with a grain of salt. Like, I think you have to see it on the field. It's, you know what? I'll use his own thing on him. He says, like, with the free agents, like, telling the fans, wait to see them on the field. Hey, Brad, like, I'm going to do the same thing with your defense. Like, don't tell me you have confidence in all this and that. Like, let me see it on the field. Like, finally put it together. Show us. We don't even want a top 5 defense. Show us a top 10 defense next year. I'll use the same thing with you. You're going to do that to the fans with the free agents. I'll do the same thing with the defense with you. Let me see it on the field. Let's stop talking about how confident we are in Shep and, these signings and, bringing back guys or draft it, whatever it is. Go put a defense on the field that's a top 10 defense in the NFL, because you regressed last year. And the year before, the reason you said you guys weren't that good, which they were actually pretty decent for a little while, was the injuries excuse. And then the next year, regressed more.
Yeah, I don't know how. I think that was more. If you're going to have confidence in Kelvin, you're either A, blaming the injuries, or B, you're blaming the players. Remember Calvin said that? He's like, we had guys in positions to make plays. They just didn't make plays. I think that was kind of the basis of what he said.
Yeah.
I think there's also I think Brad and Dan also believe that too. Like, he had players in position to make plays. They just couldn't make plays. Well, we're going to find out this year if those players aren't still making plays, which, by the way, technically, Brad, you are in charge of putting the players out there that are making those plays. So I think it's on your defensive coordinator, but it's also on your GM as well. Like, it's not all Kelvin Shepherd. He can cook what he wants to cook, but you need the guy to give him the right ingredients. And he did talk about the edge rusher position, which I'll play this clip, which, that's the hot bud topic. Every time he talks is like edge rusher and what's going to happen at edge. Well, he did speak about that. So here's Brad on the edge position.
In some ways, want him over Al-Quadin Muhammad.
Well, actually, it wasn't. It wasn't one of. It didn't come down to that. It didn't come down to this player versus the other. He was another one that I knew what we needed to do on the offensive line. We were all very aware of what we were going to do on the offensive line, and so once we made those financial commitments on the offensive line, I pretty much had a good sense that I don't think that we're going to be able to do much else when it comes to that position. That's another expensive position. Like what they call it, it's a premium position. So basically, it wasn't like we're choosing this player over that player. I wouldn't even say the financials were exactly the same as well. But just once we made that decision for the offensive line, we made that commitment. It kind of took us out of some of those other options at edge rusher, including Muhammad.
Hey, I'll tell you this. Remember I mentioned, and I know people don't want to hear it, but I mentioned I don't think Cam Jordan and Joey Bosa are they're going to sign these guys. I was worried about it because, and I think he kind of answered that question where it's we weren't able to get a higher price guy because we made those financial decisions on the O-line, and it kind of took us out of the options for edge, like maybe a Joey Bosa and they felt like center was more of an important position to address than edge 2, which could very well be correct. I understand you need a starting center at the end of the day. But
that's the thing though, to me. Hey, that takes you out of it. But that takes you out of it. What was Cade May's contract? $24 million, 3 years?
Like $8 million a year, something like that.
$8 million a year. Okay. If it was like a Tyler Linderbaum, a $20 million guy, 25, then I'd be like, yeah, that took you out. Dude, we're talking about an $8 million guy took you out of another $8 million edge rusher. I don't know. That's where I think it comes down to hey, you can restructure $13 million more of Jared. You can do that. 13 more of Jared Goff's contract, and you can cover both. Yeah. And kind of because again, I do see the point that Brad's making. We have to be smart if we're going to do. But Brad's acting hey, it's one or the other. We can't do both. No, you can do both to a sense. Realistically, yeah, you're not going to get crippled from doing $13 more million of a restructure on one of these contracts. That's not going to kill you, to where you can't get out of that hole in the next 2 or 3 years. You easily could. But at the end of the day, it's if your defensive line's not good again next year, and you only have Aiden Hutchinson and your other edge isn't doing good, everyone's going to look back and be like, "This is exactly what we were talking about. You should have done both." And I just don't. The only thing I don't like, or the response I don't like, is the either or. It was either, hey, our offensive line, we got that done. Oh man, now we can't get an edge. I don't like that response. I personally don't, because I think that's wrong. And if you think that it was oh, I get it. We're not asking again. We're not asking for a $30 million edge. I think people are wanting an $8 to $10 million guy that is sufficient and reliable. I think is the biggest word, is reliable.
Mm-hmm. You want reliability. And I'll even say this because it wasn't off the record. So people that are tuning in, I can mention this. We were able to talk to him a little bit after the interview, and he did mention, he asked, which I think me saying I'm the voice, I try to be the voice of the fans. I think he did take that seriously, which, is I appreciate. He was like, hey, what's with the, what the edge stuff? Like why do you think that is? Like, why do people, make I'm paraphrasing. He didn't say this exactly, but it was essentially like, hey, why do you think people are making it a big deal? Or why do they feel so strongly about it? Essentially, like the edge thing and what's going on there. And I'm gonna be honest, like number one, I was caught off guard because I was taking down the equipment. And I was like, you want me to answer, like, truthfully? And the reason I gave was like, I think people in chat, you could back me up, tell me if I misrepresented you. I was like, I think people are upset that the players you bring in to patch up that defensive end 2 spot are just unavailable typically, like Davenport, Peyton Turner. And, when I said that, he was like, you know what? Like, yeah, I get that. That's fair. And then he was, talking to the other guys. And part of me was like, I understand you understand, but like my thing is like,
do you really understand? Do you really?
Yeah, like I want to know. I want to know why. Like that was where like it's like we're not even on the interview anymore. I wish I could have been like, yeah, no, I get it, but like explain. I want to get your thoughts on that. Like, he was cool, super cool about it, but it's like, no, I'm really curious to see what your mindset is. Like maybe and I'm just theorizing. Maybe you feel like you're getting a bargain out of those guys, but it's like the problem is, Brad, is not the first time you signed Davenport, even though they had injury concerns. It's you bringing him back.
Yeah.
With injury concerns,
I think it's concerning. It's concerning that he did that. It puts a big question mark on decision making when you do that, and you're like, "Whoa, wait a second." Or like you said, the Peyton Turner, where it is in the moment. You look at it and you go, "Oh, a lot of really high upside." Has he played? No, I mean he has 5 total sacks in his career. And he's an edge rusher, and it's like, and the reason he has 5 is because he just doesn't play. He does not play. And to me, it's like, if you are going to be like, hey man, we paid an edge or a center, we addressed offensive line, now we can't spend on the D line. No, but you paid $1 million or $2 million to this guy. Why not actually just pay the $1 million or $2 million to, I don't know, if you really want to do prove it players, like don't get me a prove it player that is an injury prone guy. Give me a prove it player that plays and wants to actually be on the field and prove it. Because Peyton Turner, I can guarantee you this right now, I think a lot of people will agree with this. He's not playing more than half of the season. He won't. I would be shocked if he played 5 games this year. I would be shocked. There's just no way. He hasn't played football since 2024, and he's an injury-prone guy. So what does that mean? His body's not even close, probably ready to play football again. Then when he gets back on the field, one hit, boom, done. Like, it's the same thing with Davenport. He's just. Everyone thought that it was an opportunity. Oh, his ceiling. Me included for a little bit. And he did it twice.
I really like this. Mr. Jiggles, like, this would have been a great question to ask, too. Like, there's so much meat left on the bone. Like, I'd like to know, like, when you evaluate a free agent or a draft pick, like, how much is availability in consideration? And I know it sounds stupid because every GM is going to be like, of course we want him to be available. You know what I mean? Of course, but Brad's actually spoke about this before, I believe. I if I'm not mistaken, I think he's actually spoken about this before, and I think his reasoning was like, I'm again paraphrasing, but I think it was along the lines of like, hey, these guys that are injured, you could basically, there's a chance you could strike gold with some of these guys because they're struggling, they get injured, their stock falls, but then you take them and they're available and they're really good. But some guys, it's like, hey, it's like what we say on the show. It's like, if it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, probably a duck.
It's a duck.
You know what I'm
saying it's not a frog. It's a duck.
You know what I mean? If the guy's injured, he stays injured, he's probably going to get injured again. You know what I mean? I think that's probably a safe assumption.
Yeah.
Yeah. So part of it. Yeah.
I want to bring up, I don't know if we have a clip of it. Can I bring up something else within this interview that concerns me a little bit?
Yeah.
I'm really concerned about the Larry Borom thing. And Brad, if people didn't know, and we might have a clip of it, but there was a part, I don't know if it was within the clip. Oh, here it is. He was asked, Justin did ask him, like, do you look at Larry Borom as a starter for this team and in the NFL? And he goes, yep, he started a lot of games. Like, Brad looks at Larry Borom as he could be a starting left tackle, or I think more so he mentioned today, he said right tackle, which makes me think there's a better reason that Panay's going to move. But he did mention right tackle with Larry Borom. This scares me a little bit. And maybe this is just Brad, and I know, like, and you know this too, Jeff, like these guys in the front office, like they're not allowed to have conversations about the draft and give away strategy and all of that. So obviously Brad in the first round can still get a tackle. That's not out of the picture. But we know that Brad drafts for best player available and not for needs. Like we know that. You said that to him today, and he like lit up like a light bulb. Like he was so happy. He was like, "Yeah, you know that? You know that I draft for BPA?" Like, and he was so pumped up about that. And I think they look at Larry Borom as like, "Hey, we don't have to get a tackle in this draft because we have Larry Borom." And that's like, I think Lions fans, if I took anything out of this interview, there was a lot of things that I actually liked that Brad said, and I think it was really good that he clarified a lot of things and gave a little perspective on how he approaches different scenarios, whether it's the defense, whether it's, free agency, or however he approaches certain things that a lot of people wanted to know, the David Montgomery stuff, the Taylor Decker stuff. I think the biggest concerning thing to me was that they do look at Larry Borom as like their guy. And I think he can fill in if you need him to for starts throughout the season. But if you're talking about replacing a Taylor Decker on this O-line and going to try and win a Super Bowl and having a playoff caliber offensive line and a top 5 offensive line in the NFL again, I don't think Larry Borom fits within that. I don't think he's an offensive tackle in the league that could be on a top 5 offensive line. And I don't think that's even close to crazy for me to say. And it's shocking to me that Brad kind of looks at Larry Borom like that. And, we could be dead wrong on this, and he could end up being a good tackle for you. Because Brad did say, hey, he had good games in Miami, but we don't need good. Like, I think at the tackle position, you need great right now. And you need to get back to where you were 2 or 3 years ago, where this offensive line was the number 1 O-line in the NFL. And right now, this does not move that needle to get you back there. And that was concerning to hear that today.
Yeah, like it was a give and a take, because the give was him saying that Penei Sewell is so good that they wouldn't mind him being the starting left tackle. Like they have to take that. So that's like cool for Lions fans to be like, man, it'd be cool if they do. If push comes to shove, you could have Penei start at left, because Larry Borom has played left and right, but a lot at right. And I think Brad mentioned like his right tackle tape, like he was talking about, like that's where he was really good. So you don't sign a guy that started at right tackle and played, decent to well at right tackle and put him at left. So I'm assuming if they don't address tackle in the draft, like you got to move Penei to left, right? Like that has to be the route you take. I'll give credit to Easy. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like when they signed Larry Borom, I was like, he's a swing tackle. But then as free agency kind of played out,
Easy did bring this up.
You started seeing starting tackles go for about Larry Borom's price. So I think he was signed to be a starting tackle, and it goes back to Brad's philosophy is like, you in free agency, you're signing guys to fill needs. Like DJ Wanham, he's your starter. Like he's your starter at edge. Like whether you want to like it or not, you know what I'm saying? That's what he looks at DJ Wanham as. Same with Larry Borom. So I think that's just the reality of it. I'm not saying it's a good position to be in, because it's 2 premier positions in which you have guys that are like, DJ Wanham, fine. Larry Borom, fine. Like you said, he's not going to give away his draft strategy, but
but I just think like we all are sitting here banging the table like tackle. He confirmed today that they're not, and like he was talking about like the 2023 draft with the corners, or 2024. I apologize.
Yeah, he actually addressed it.
Remember we talked
about that? He countered that theory. He said that was BPA lined up with need.
And that's where my point with this is, it's like, you need tackle, but he did say today, like, we went BPA in the 2024, and it just happened to be need. And he was like, that was not me going need. They just happened. Ennis and Terrion happened to be at the top of my board and my top guys when we were up to pick. And it lined up with that. So to be fair, Brad did he shut me down with that. I've been saying for the last couple months that the last 2 years he's gone need, it feels like, over BPA, and he shut that down, which I will say, Jeff, do you want me to be honest with you?
Mm-hmm.
the reason, like, me and you have been arguing that the last 2 drafts haven't been as good as his first 3 was because we said that he was going need. That's got to worry a little bit. Like, he actually was going BPA and he missed on 2 drafts. That's just me and you just talking on the side. Like, we're like whispering here. That's scary because I legit thought he was going need, and that was why he ended up not doing, like, getting great players like he did before. I legit thought that. He told it straight up. He told you straight up today. Nope. I was going BPA. Swing and a miss, man. That's tough. I love Brad, dude. I love Brad. That's a tough look.
Yeah.
2 straight years. I mean, he's had good picks in the drafts. But like, from what he was doing
it's not even about, I think it's less about like him missing, because it's like, okay, me and you both understand he's not going to hit on every single draft pick, right? Like that's where it's like, we're not saying you got to be perfect. I think the problem some fans have is the players you do select, either the players that maybe are projects like Giovanni Manu, Broderick Martin,
tough, yeah. Colby.
Do you think those guys are BPA, or do you think, or maybe like Ennis Rakestraw, who had a lot of injury concerns, like that goes back to the injury point. It's like, he's BPA, but do you factor in like he's been injured a lot? You know what I'm saying? Does that play a part in maybe some of the decision making? Like I'll say like last year's draft, like I think Tate and Isaac, even though I'm not a fan of the Isaac Tesla trade up, but I like Isaac Tesla. He's a good player. So I understand like some of that thought process, but yeah, it's like the project thing. People are like, okay, is that BPA? Like, was Broderick Martin BPA? Like, do we believe that?
I mean, from Western Kentucky, BPA? No, he was not BPA.
You know
what about Colby Sorsdale? There's no way.
There's some where it's like, you don't have to hit it. I'm just questioning, like, is this guy, I'm just curious. Was he BPA?
Because what happens if BPA, I'll tell you what happens if BPA every time you're up to draft was like a secondary player every time? Are you just going to go like, you have 6 picks in the draft, you're just going to get 6 safeties?
You're not. You're not going to do that. Yeah. I brought up yesterday. It's like Monroe Freeling, or, you have like Carnell Tate in your hands. Like, you're
not going Carnell. Like, you're looking at roster construction.
Yeah, like, are you taking Carnell Tate because he's the better prospect by a lot of people? Like, you're probably not. You know what I'm saying? You're going to take Monroe Freeling. But yeah, I think that's part of the GM thing where you like keep your cards, close to the vest. It's like, hey,
I would love to just go into Brad's office and see his board or their draft room right now.
Yeah, I know, right?
They probably are in their draft room with Town right now, getting the board ready. I would love to see what that board looks like right now. I would be so like, I think that would be like, if I got 3 wishes from a genie currently, if they were like, here you go, I would use one of them on, can I please see Brad Holmes' board every day for the next, until the NFL draft? Like, I want like a sneak peek at it every day.
Well, let me actually, I'm glad you mentioned the board. I was just thinking, I don't know why this made me think of it, but Brad addressed the Dan Campbell stuff. Remember the report Mike Valenti had? Which, I mean, if we're doing he said a reporter that covers the team. Let's look at Mike Valenti, who's someone he really trusts. Like, let's just use our common sense here. Like,
do you know anyone that he trusts?
I think my theory, and I think many people's theory when it happened, was the man who was a former player that he has on his show every week, like TJ Lang, like,
and who was actually like in the building at some time.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not even like, that's not me having inside information. That's just like, that's literally the assumption that many have, and I believe would probably be right. Like, that's,
you know what I think could have happened, and I'm just
TJ has on his show weekly, and he's a former player. So
can I give you my thoughts on what I think happened with that?
Yeah,
I think it's like the scenario where like when Justin put out the heavy lifting with the Lions is done. Like, did Justin have a source inside the Lions organization where they're like, hey, just so you know, guys, and this is where I think fans and even people who maybe were like fans kind of misinterpret a little bit, where they're like, Justin's like talking to, I don't know, assistant GM, and he's like, yeah, our heavy lifting's done. We're done. Like, there wasn't like, I don't think Justin actually had that. I think Justin just connected the dots and was like, hey, almost everyone is off the board in free agency. There's a few decent pieces left, but there's no like $20 million, $15 million guys left on the board. Heavy lifting's done. And I think everyone tweeted out and being like, Justin Rogers is reporting that the heavy lifting's done. And everyone starts to think that the Lions are the ones that put that out. And then like 97-1, oh, the heavy lifting is done. I think what might have happened with Valenti, again, I don't have any source. I don't know. I think someone that covers a team or Valenti's close with told him, and it was the same thing. Remember a couple of weeks ago, I actually said this before Valenti even put it out. I said, I feel like this is the first offseason since they started in 2021 where they finally had kind of a regression. And I wouldn't be shocked if there's a little bit more of an urgency inside that building and a little bit more back and forth. And there might be a little bit more tension within that building than there has been in years past because of the urgency to turn this thing around. Right? Like I said that before Valenti said it 2 weeks ago. Maybe someone said something similar to Valenti and Valenti took it as that's actually happening in the building. And it's kind of the mix up with the Justin Rogers thing to that as well, to where I don't know if that was actually something that was reported. And I feel like that's just my thought. And I think it was taken that way. Maybe misinterpreted. But that's kind of how I looked at it.
I'm with you. I think the Lions are doing a good job of keeping things close to the vest. I don't think Dan and Brad having arguments. I think that when we talked about it, it was more so the fact that people were so quick to deny that they don't disagree on stuff, and it's like a ridiculous report. We didn't think it was a ridiculous thing to talk about or discuss or assume is happening.
No,
I think if we're going to talk about the legitimacy of the report, that's where it's like, okay, like,
I mean,
like, is TJ Lang in the meetings when they're talking about free agency? No, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I'll call it how it is too. I said that the week before Valenti said it on air, and the doc texted us that this happened. What did I text you? I text you and I go like, dead serious too. I know this sounds great. I was like, does Valenti watch our show? Did he think that I legit said this a week ago. I was like, did he just take what I said and said someone covered? Like, I was just like,
you connecting the dot, like just being,
yeah. Like, in my mind, I was like, did Valenti just get that from us and say someone reported? Like, that's how misinterpreted I think this whole thing was, to where I genuinely don't, like, maybe someone told him, but I was like, I feel like maybe someone had the same thought process as I did, because there's no way, like, in house that's getting out, even if there was heads butting, like, who's letting that out? Chris Spielman's not going to go to someone and be like, oh, guess what? Like, who's there's no way.
Yeah. No, I'm with
and
you.
And if Lenny watches, shout out.
Let's play the clip here. This is Brad Holmes discussing that narrative. Shout out to J. Raj for the question.
I'm just wondering, have the conversations been, can we characterize them as more intense when you have a season that is that first step back and maybe you're trying to figure out how to get it back on the track you wanted it?
I think the only intensity I would say is just that when you have a disappointment of a season like we had, it's more intense in terms of, I think what I spoke about at the end of the season press conference is that it is a deeper, harder look from top to bottom on everything. And that's what me and Dan have done in joint alignment. So that would be the only intensity that was probably a little further, because you get this eye opener. It's like, whoa, hold on now. And so let's just make sure that we're not overlooking something, or if there's not a tweak or an adjustment that needs to be done. So I would say that would be the intensity. That's what's happening. I don't know where the other stuff came from, but no, I mean, if anything, it's me and Dan, in total lockstep like we always have been. Yeah. And, we're just kind of looking at everything top to bottom, which we already have done. And that we'll continue to do for sure.
So he basically was like, I don't know what the hell they're talking about.
He's like, I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, which I understand. I mean, I tend to believe that, him and Dan are on the same page. Doesn't mean they don't have disagreements. I think that's real. I think that can happen. I think every head coach and GM, they're not always going to be in lockstep with every single decision they make. So I think there's truth to that. Yeah, people are gonna be like, well, he's never gonna say there's problems. Yeah, that's fair. But it's just, I don't get that vibe. I this is where I said it. I think it's for people to be like, whatever Brad does, Dan is on board with. Like, yeah, but you're telling me this is how I think Dan is. Like, I think if Brad was like, hey, Dan, I'm gonna go get us a dude. I'm gonna try and make this happen. Like I told you this, I think Dan would be like, hey man, if it makes sense,
do it.
Let's do it. Like I think there's a part of it where Dan just trusts Brad. So I don't.
That's what I was gonna say. I think there's like a built-in trust a little bit because they have realistically like those guys have built something together. So I think there is a side of trust. I do think there's also a world where they're probably not butting heads, but he says like we're in lockstep. Like I think there's a trust between them to where they're able to go to each other if there's an issue or if there's something like, hey, I don't, this is a player we need to move on from, or we need to go get someone else, or vice versa. To where it's just like anything else. You know what I mean? Like it's the same thing with any company or anything that you run in the real world. You probably love someone you work with, but hey, all right, we're going to run into some issues where we disagree. How do we fix those? Boom, we're good. And I think those two probably work very, very well hand in hand when it comes to that. Now, when they say we're like Dan says it all the time. He said it last year a lot too. He was like, every time Brad brings me someone, I love him. I'm all in on. Well, I do think there's times where like Dan says that out loud, but I think there probably are times where Dan's like, nah, I'm good. Like we don't need there's this thing I don't like about this guy or something. I do think there are disagreements, but I don't think it's like a disagreement where, there's yelling and screaming in the building. Which I mean, I'll say this, like,
yeah,
I've heard of maybe. I'm not going to say it. Never mind. I won't say it. But I'll say it. Not Dan and Brad, but I might have heard some things.
Oh yeah,
there's yelling going on in that building. It's not those two.
Hey, Jay says they weren't on the same page last year with the Za'Darius stuff. Dan said we're good. Brad said we've been in contact. See, like, I don't know.
Jay, we've had this conversation, Jay, and you've been in. We've had this conversation, Jay. This is yelling. We've had the conversation. Dan Campbell's never going to go to the media and say we're not good. Dan will always say we're good. Brad answered a question, has there been contact with an agent? Yes, there's been contact. That's not being like, yeah, we're trying to get Za'Darius back in the building. He's going to be here next week. No, like, hey, yeah, we've been in contact with his agent. We're working through things, and we're seeing if there's an opportunity. Like, you have to be able to dissect and understand the differences and the levels of some of these things.
Yeah, there's a difference. Is it a disagreement, or is it maybe a miscommunication to where like Dan is like, you know what? Dan as a head coach is going to always be confident with what he has in his locker room. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Dan, when he said we're good, I don't think it was necessarily like we're good. I don't want Za'Darius. I think what he was saying in the interview was like, we're good. Whatever we got, let's roll. You know, I think if they signed Za'Darius, I think Brad would be like, all right, or Dan would be like, all right, let's roll. I don't know. I don't think like Dan would, Brad signs Za'Darius and Dan's like, what are you doing? I said, we're good, dude. Like, why would you do that? It's just part of it, they're going on different interviews. They're going to, of course, like say some things that like might not lap together.
For sure.
I think that was one of them. Like, I think Dan would be fine with Za'Darius coming back. You know what I mean? He never did, whatever. And it is what it is.
It's just so, yeah.
It's just,
I think they're in lockstep. I do think at the end of the day, though, like we do know there's going to be a little bit of like, hey, I want this guy. No, I want this guy. I like this guy. I might not like this guy. Like that. I'm sure that's happened here or there. When Dan says we've never disagreed once, I do find that one hard to believe. Oh, every time he brings me someone, I'm like, actually, he was at the top of my list too. Like, come on, bro. You're doing the LeBron, where LeBron's like, come on, dude.
Yeah, the dude, he's doing the LeBron. I always knew I saw that.
Yeah, I always knew, man. Like, I saw that coming from a mile away. They did it.
Klotz. I think Jeff has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. Dude thinks he can replace Gibbs in the 7th round.
Imagine if Jeff gave his running back take to Brad today.
That's like a, there's, it's like there's things you don't do on a first date. I think with like talking to a GM, like there's probably things you don't do first time talking to Brad Holmes. I think that's probably like the do not do list. Like, hey Brad, can I run something by you real quick? You mind if I what are your thoughts? Hear me out.
Hear me out real quick. He might have listened, honestly. He might have just been like, all right, what's up?
He would have, in his head, he would have been like, this guy's never fucking
if you could have, take the running back take away, because that probably is the worst one, then he would have been like, I'm not doing that. But if you could have just given him one, like, this is a player, like Brad, like if he was like, hey, with what's left, free agency, everything, he's like, give me one thing. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, just give me something. Like, and it could be like anything, like give me Hendon Hooker back or do this. Like, what would you do? What would you have said?
Like, if I could have said anything to Brad, like just off the.
And he was like, he came up to you and was like, hey man, like, I'm asking you genuinely, like, what's a move that you would make that you think would be like, like, what if he did? Like, he looked at you and was like, he's like, I need help. He's just like, I need help. Give me one move. Like, I just need a move. I need help. One move. What are you doing? And he does it too. Like, you tell him it and he does it. This could be Super Bowl changing.
What if I said, Matt says Jeff would say trade for Caleb Williams. Do everything.
Like, he gets home and it's like an ESPN alert.
Yeah, I would say Giovanni Manu. Is there a chance he starts? Can we get him starting this year potentially?
That can't be it. That can't be
no,
it. I want it serious. Like, what would you tell him? Like, if there was one move you would make, what would you tell him to do?
That's a great question. Honestly, the thing I struggle with is where the Lions are right now. I don't think there is like one move you could do to like fix everything. You know what I mean? Like, I think the only move you can do to fix everything would be like a blockbuster trade, I guess. I think my question, if I could ask him, like, if he was like, what do you think I've done? What is something you could critique about what I've done? I would be like, Brad, why did you sit on your hands when you had guys on rookie deals? Like, I would be like, why?
Okay, so you just changed the full question without answering it.
You know what I mean? If you told me one deal right now, I would be like,
yeah.
I don't know. I would find a way to get out of Aleem McNeil's money. Can we find a way to do that?
Oh, that was the greatest answer you could have said. You knew how to light up the room with that one, dude. That was one of my favorite answers. I didn't even know that was my number one answer. That was my number one answer. That's unbelievable from you, dude. I love you for that, man. That's so real.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would tell him no matter what. You know, like, remember that movie Draft Day where he wrote in the note, no matter what, this player? No matter what, Monroe Freeling. And that's it. And then I just guaranteed the Lions get Monroe Freeling. And I think Lions fans would be like, Booner, you're the savior. Like, you just said, you did it. Thank you, Booner.
I would say if it's a draft move, yeah, that'd be a good one. It'd be like, Brad, just give me a tackle, man. Can you do that? You know,
what if he asked me and I just said, one move, you're gonna do it, Brad? He's like, I'll do it today. Like, I'll make sure this gets done. And what if I looked him dead in his eyes and goes, like, shake on it, like, fire Kelvin Shepherd.
He's like, oh,
he would be like, oh, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, that would be. It's crazy. I mean, he had meetings all day, and they said like they're not done with free agency. So
he did say that. I think I posted the clip. He was like, "We're still going."
He did
still
say
alive. That. How much money did they have? You should have asked him that. What's the money look like?
Show me that. I should have been like, you got to, like, after the interview, you got a couple minutes. Can I come with you? Can I check out like let me get in your office. Let me just see what you got.
Dude, that's one thing I've always been interested with NFL front offices is like, I would love to see their like system that calculates and shows them, hey, this is how much you have. This is like, there's got to be some app on their computer that he just opens it up and it'd be like cap space, boop, boop, boop. Like this, boop, 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 boop. Dead cap, boop, boop, boop. Like, it just has everything like so perfect for them. Like, I don't know. I imagine it as like a robot. You know what I mean? Or like
he would have. He probably has like this giant AI compute, like a giant AI. You know how they said the Lions, like Tim Twentyman was like the Lions kind of.
Oh, we never talked about that, did we?
No. Actually, you want to bring that up? We talked to Tim 21.
Well, I would say Tim, we talked to Tim for a long time about that. And Tim 20man was like, the Lions are one of the first teams outside of the Rams that use AI for their draft boards and for what is it? What was everything? It was draft boards, scouting, like all of that to where it computes and helps create their board. And they use that to be able to be like, all right, we have this. This is where we rank our players. This is where everything falls into line. They have like analytics. And the Rams were the first team to ever use it when Brad was in LA. And when Brad came to Detroit, he brought that with him, and that's what they use. And they have this whole system that they use where they input all this different data. If you do listen to 20man talk to Dan Skipper, Dan kind of brought it up a little bit and was like, yeah, I'm getting used to all this AI and all this. I don't know if it's all AI, but it's like, yeah, I guess it is AI. But where, and Dan was like, I'm still getting used to all these different systems that they use to kind of break down and rate players. And obviously there's the side of like watching the film and actually going and scouting. But they did say, like Tim did say, like they have a massive system that they use, an AI system that calculates and ranks all these guys for them. And he was like, that's like why they've been so successful in the draft the first 3 years was because of that system. So I thought that was so interesting. Tim actually did ask us too. He was like, do you guys think I should do a show on that, like a podcast about it? We were like, yes, people will love to hear about how Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell and the Lions have been using AI for the last 5 years to set up their draft board. Like that's the most interesting thing of all time. Like who would have thought, to be honest?
Yeah, AI. I mean, it is kind of. What if
they're like one of the first couple teams in the NFL that use AI for draft boards? Like that's crazy.
It's not that. It's like I think how he said it is like before people say like it's not like Brad's like, hey,
who should I take?
yeah. It's not like he's asking AI like, hey, who are some good players? ChatGPT. I think it's like they organize the players by like, certain
analytics.
It's like,
yes,
because there's someone in the chat that's like, I knew he was using AI to pick players.
He was saying they put all the information in and they have a database an AI database that moves it all around, and which is good. Like
he types in some AI stuff and it just spits out like
Giovanni Manu.
Yeah.
He's like, no, are you sure? And he like replies back, are you sure he's from like Colombia, dude? He's like, no, yeah,
Giovanni Manu. He's like, interesting. All right.
I'm all in on AI, by the way. I've been using it for different pictures and stuff. Can I show the one picture of Klotz that I made with the long hair?
Sure.
Let me see if I can find it.
You've been going psycho with these AI edits, like the pictures. I mean,
dude. Can I show this picture of Klotz with long hair?
Yeah, go ahead.
Dude, that's one of the crazy, it's the most realistic things of all time.
So bad, dude. Oh gosh. Hey, let's bring in our
how about this one? Oh, can I do this one or no? The DUI one or no? Is that a bad idea?
Yeah, do that one. You have a mugshot of Klotz. That's fake.
That's not. That was him on the show one day.
Oh god. Yeah.
That was him on the show.
Let's transition. Let's bring in. Let's bring in our good friend Chris Castellani, one of the best in the business. We're gonna bring him in, talk some Detroit Tigers. He's doing
congrats to Chris too. Yeah.
Big play Detroit. Go check him out, man. He's doing some great things. We're always rooting for Chris. Bring him on. Chris, how we doing, my friend?
What's going on, fellas? Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Hey, congrats too. The massive deal the last week or so with big play Detroit, man.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's definitely a big step, but hopefully we can get this thing off the ground and make something that's really awesome. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Chris, I guess we haven't really – I haven't got a chance to speak to you in a while, so I do want your thoughts kind of leading up into this point. Like, the season starts this week. You got, the Tigers being, a team that I think many people, including myself, are excited for. Your thoughts on, I guess, just the offseason, maybe some of the moves. We'll get to, I want to ask you about some of the young players as well at some point. I'm sure we'll get to them as well. But how are you feeling heading into opening day, where this Tiger team sits, your expectations? How are you feeling as on March 24th, heading towards the opening day here?
You know, it's really interesting, and I wrote a piece about this a few days ago where I think this has actually been, in terms of spring training, the offseason's a little bit different. I'll talk about that. But in terms of spring training, one of the more boring springs that we've had, and I mean that as a positive. You know, good teams who know what their roster is going to look like, that have established players, have very boring spring trainings because 25 of their 26-man roster is already set before they even start playing games. You know, these guys that have been here with Carey, Riley, Tor, Cobby, like these are established veterans now. We know they're going to be there. Obviously, some questions to answer on the pitching side and in terms of, you know, and I'm sure you guys will ask about McGonigle at some point. But no, look, the offseason was exciting, and yet it was a whole lot of nothing happening before everything happened. It felt like it was about as slow as it could get. I remember I sent out a tweet, and this was kind of, maybe this is what sparked it, being like, look, even by Tiger standards, this is a really boring offseason. And then about 3 days later, they signed Frommer, and about 4 days after that, they signed Verlander. So it was like everything kind of happened very quickly. And this is going to be the great like mystery for me, is I don't know how much of this was like their plan. Like if it was just like, hey, we're gonna be waiting in the wings, and then all of a sudden, bang, we're gonna do something, or if this was something that kind of came on late. I'm not sure, but it was. I think that there is admittedly more excitement here, and I talked about this on Big Play Detroit, but I think it's worth reiterating, just in the sense that I think for the last 10 years or so, as excited as we've gotten about certain teams and certain players, there was always that, yeah, but in terms of the commitment or lack thereof in terms of offseason spending. And I think, look, I know that the Tarek arbitration thing has something to do with this, but we came into this offseason not knowing if Tarek was even going to be here in 26. And, you know, not only do you not trade him, you pay him the $32 million, you add Frommer, who's, you know, an ace level pitcher at best, or at worst, he's a really good number two pitcher. You go back, you get the nostalgia signing with Verlander, you bring back Glaber. Now all of a sudden, you're not only the odds-on favorite to win the American League Central, you're one of the top 10 in terms of overall payroll, and I think that's been a really big thing for the fans to look forward to. So it's look, I think the vibes are pretty good right now.
And the vibes are good. I'm pumped up for Thursday. Tiger start. I do want to say to the people real quick, I saw someone in the chat ask it, and I'm going to ask you now, Chris. For people who don't know, it was breaking news today. We've had a busy day today, so we haven't gotten to it yet, but Kevin McGonigle it got announced he is on the opening day roster. The Tigers are going to have him on the roster. Can I get your thoughts on that, Chris? Because we've talked about this a lot the last few weeks. I've been saying I want him on there. I know there's the whole 16-game thing with the extra year. I actually just found out that if he did make the opening day roster and wins Rookie of the Year, the Tigers get a first-round pick out of that, which seems like hey, let's take a chance on that anyways, with the chance that, you know, we get a guy that is one of the best hitters on the roster anyways. What is your thoughts on him getting, you know, making the roster, and kind of expanding on that? What are the expectations for people to kind of look at his season and what to expect out of him?
Yeah, no, I think that was something that was negotiated in the last collective bargaining agreement, which is that service time thing still exists, but there are incentives for calling guys up, which is exactly what happened with McGonigle here. Look, it's a really interesting thing because you want to have great talent, you want to have top prospects, you want to have guys that people are excited for. I think McGonigle, it's a very interesting thing because not only do I think that he's going to be an excellent player, but the caliber of player that is needed in this lineup, that's what he is. He's a contact guy. He's a high walk guy, more walks than strikeouts in the minor leagues a year ago, which at any level is kind of unheard of nowadays. It's really an interesting thing, you know, that what he's been able to do, just kind of ascending through the minor leagues. Look, we've had guys here in the past that have been top prospects offensively, and I'm sure that the defensive side of things is much different. And whether it's at short or third, and he'll need to develop, and they're going to have to make some decisions there. But as a whole, offensively, I don't see this being a guy that has a huge learning curve because it's somebody that has an elite knowledge of the strike zone. And I think spring training is very indicative of that. He hit around 240, which you look at it, you say, okay, that's so-so, that's fine. The OPS was pretty much the best on the team above 900, meaning that when he was hitting for power. And when he wasn't hitting, he was getting on base. He was drawing a lot of walks and he wasn't striking out a ton. This is a lineup that desperately needs contact. He's going to be able to provide that. And the last thing I'll say is, unlike some other previous guys who've been called up, Torque Green kind of being the prime example, he's asked right now to be a guy here. He's not being asked to be the guy. They're not going to insert him in the number 3 spot in the order right away and expect him to hit 300. I think that there's going to be some expectations that he's going to take his lumps, as is often the case with these young guys. But no, I mean, I don't think you could shy away from the hype at this point. The guy had an excellent spring. He has just completely, overwhelmingly dominated every level of baseball that he's been in since the Tigers drafted him. So it's going to be exciting.
I do want to ask you, I mean, I guess it's kind of like a 2-part question because it all kind of applies to the same part, but you talked about Kevin McGonigle, but I guess I'll ask you about Max Clark as well. Because I think one of your best things that you provide, I mean, you're very knowledgeable, but at least for your player breakdowns and kind of your evaluations, I'll get you on Max Clark. I know it's been a little up and down, but and then you can kind of go to Jackson Jobe as well. I know we saw a little bit of him, but just his progression and where we expect him to be.
Yeah, well, look, in terms of Clark, it's very, and I think all organizations go through this, where Clark and McGonigle are in the same draft. Clark obviously taken first with the Tigers, McGonigle going in the next round. And I think there's this expectation that their development has to be this linear progression where they got to be together. They got to be in AA together. They got to be in AAA together. They got to get called up around the same time. And the fact is, every player's development is different. McGonigle as an offensive player is about as polished a hitter as we've seen in the minor leagues, not just with the Tigers, but really with any organization in a long time. Like, he is that good. Clark has had his struggles in spring training. There's also the kind of polarizing nature of him as a player and the way that he goes about his business, which I have zero problem with. I find him to be entertaining. I've had the opportunity to chat with him. I think he's a great guy. But he had his struggles, admittedly. He's going to start down in AAA. We're going to see Max Clark at some point here in 2026, but both these guys were taken out of high school, and Clark, for as much upside that still exists, he's a bit more of a project than McGonigle was, and with that is going to come, some kind of natural learning curve. So I'm not necessarily concerned with Clark at this point. I think that he kind of suffers from the fact that he's constantly compared to McGonigle, which is like, I get they were in the same draft, but it's almost unfair. They're completely different players. One guy's playing center field, one guy's an infielder. Clark obviously hopes to be more of a speedster, base stealing type of, base stealing threat. So it's much different. But as a whole, I've seen nothing from him going back to what he did last year, the minor leagues, that worries me about his development.
Hey, what do you think as well, Chris? Just with this kind of pitching rotation that they have this year, you have, it feels like it's a deeper rotation in the past. Last year you had like the whole, what do they call it? The pitching chaos most of the time. And it was like, all right, you just don't have a solid rotation. This year with Framber and Verlander, and then the guys that you had last year returning, it feels like it's a legit rotation that they have. What's the confidence level with that? I have said too, by the way, Chris, my thought process with winning a World Series has always been, if you have the best pitching rotation, you can win. Even if you're bad, like you obviously need hitting, but when you get to the postseason, if you just have 4 or 5 dudes that can just go out there and dominate, no one can beat you, in my opinion. And that's what it feels like this rotation has the kind of the ceiling to be. Am I wrong on that? Do you kind of get the same sense of that going into the season with these guys?
No, I think you're absolutely correct. And it's something that I find fascinating because I view what they did this offseason in a lot of ways as being a response to the last 2 seasons. Because in 2024, you had this insane run where, and I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, you just took dudes. I mean, you took random guys and just inserted them into the middle of high leverage innings, and they were all pitching really well. Last year, they tried to do basically the exact same thing, and it didn't work, and the pitching kind of fell apart down the stretch. I think that they asked a lot, probably too much, of their excellent pitching coach, Chris Fetter, and ultimately, the team kind of fell apart down the stretch, and there were multiple reasons for that. At the same time, you look at it now and you say, okay, what happens if we take guys that are established pitchers at the big league level, we give them to Chris Fetter, and we see what he can do? Well, I mean, Kyle Finnegan, prime example of that. First of all, can I just say real quick, I want to apologize if my audio issues are off or I have video issues. My Wi-Fi is run by a hamster on a wheel, and it's been crap for the last I am so, and I'll get back to the Tigers in a second. The pitching's going to be great. That's the answer to my question. I just guess for a guy who works on the internet all the time, it's unbelievable the concept. awesome. The former signing obviously makes this potentially a very elite rotation, especially if we can get some bounce back from Jack Flaherty this year.
Do we lose you? Now you're not on the screen. We can hear you. Well, I think we might have lost you. But we can hear him. But I will say this: if Chris, you can hear us, we appreciate you. We appreciate
legend,
we appreciate
dude.
Keep crushing, guys. Go check out Big Play Detroit. What Chris Castellani's doing. Chris, keep up the great work. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, so it'll be better next time, guys. I promise.
No.
Hey, we appreciate you, Chris. Either way, hey, you're the best, man.
Chris Castellani joining the show, talking to the Detroit Tigers. By the way, we're going to give out. We're doing this thing. You can. So what are we doing here? Season long.
Yeah, I mean, I think the people like. What do we think? Are you in for it, Jeff? Like, are you going to bet it?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed. I would tail whatever we're agreeing to do. So
yeah, so for people, like I had a thought process. I mean, we obviously do a lot of football, a lot of Lions, but obviously we want to start doing more everything. Like, you know what I mean? We want to obviously get everyone involved. Tigers, Pistons, Red Wings, everyone. I had the idea that Major League Baseball season starts tomorrow. I texted Jeff yesterday and said, hey, what do we think about doing an all season long home run parlay where we get 4 or 5 dudes and we take we parlay them together and we make a bet for the whole season. So us and the viewers and the listeners can also bet it if they want and follow along and can help give us picks. We can do a little bit of research. I really haven't done the most research, but we can look at it now, look at the thing and kind of give an idea. I think it would be a fun. And honestly, I'm going to do it on FanDuel. There's a boost today. MLB home runs future wager. A boost, 30% boost. So I was like, why don't we just knock this out today? The season starts tomorrow as well. And I say we do it. What do you think?
Now here's the thing. Like I've bet baseball under 10 times in my entire life. So this is where it is going to be a team effort.
Yeah.
You're going to lead some of the team effort.
Well, I just asked Chat GPT what players are going to hit their overs this year. It says Kyle Schwarber 40 plus, Ohtani 40 plus, Aaron Judge 45, Juan Soto is going to get to 30, Pete Alonso mid 30s, O'Neal Cruz is going to get 20 plus, James Wood over. I think the first bet we should do, and if people in the chat, some of you probably know baseball a little more than us. I'm going to say this. Can I give the first pick out of it, please? And let me look up to make sure I'm not giving us a dud of a pick. But I think I know a pick that I want to give out. Give me a second.
Here we go. For people that all the baseball enthusiasts stand by. In whatever he says.
My pick. Are you ready for this?
Yep.
Wait, hold on a sec. Can we parlay them if we do it this way? No, we can't. So we can't do over-unders. We got to do like 30, 40, 50. Or I guess we could do over-unders if we wanted to. Let me go find this over-under. We'll do over-unders. Give me Riley Green over 27.5 home runs. That's my first one.
Wow.
Minus 120. We could do 4 or 5 so we get good odds and there's a boost. It's an all season long one. So it's one that we really have to like take into account here and really like, hey, what can we do here? Come on now. You know what I mean? Come on.
Should I do some research and have this tomorrow?
Well, the season starts tomorrow, so we can't. The boost. The boost literally ends in an hour and a half. It says there's an hour and a half left.
Dude, I feel like I'm going to force.
Well, let's do this. Just go to your ESPN app and go to who hit home run hitters last year, like the top hitters, and let's find a couple players and let's see if we can find a couple that were like, come on now, I like this one. Like Pete Crow Armstrong. Do people like Pete Crow Armstrong? I know he's in Chicago. He just signed an extension. He had How many home runs did he have last year? I mean, Jeff, he had 31 home runs last year. His over-under is 22.5.
Honestly, I might.
We have to do Pete Crow, right?
What's Kyle Schwarber's over-under?
How was Pete Crow so low? Kyle Schwarber. What number would you like him at? Like, what would be a good one that you would be like, yep, like that?
Well, Kyle Schwarber, he hit the last 3 years, he's got 56, 38, 47, 46. What is he at?
41.5. Should we take Schwarbomb?
Fuck, he plays in a lot of games too.
We should do Schwarber. I love watching Kyle Schwarber.
All
right, Kyle Schwarber. So Pete Crow or Armstrong, he had 31 last year, dude. It's literally 21.5. We got to take that, right?
Okay.
Wait, why is it saying we can't parlay these together? It's not letting me parlay these. Oh, this is a disaster. We
got to workshop this.
We're onto a disaster.
By the way, drop your mailbag questions in the chat.
Well, we'll do Riley Green 30 home runs. We'll just do 30, and we'll do Kyle Schwarber 40. So we have 2 so far. Drop some names in the chat too if you guys think. Cal Riley, listen, I'll say this to Cal Riley. I don't want to take Cal Riley's, dude.
What?
Because he had such a good year last year, but like if you look at his other years, go look at Cal Riley the other years, dude. They're not that. Like he's had like he's only had like one good year. And he's at like 30 the rest of those years.
What's his line to get like 30?
30 is minus 600.
Oh, that's insane. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's really not even worth it, to be honest. That's why I was like, I looked at it a couple weeks ago and I was like, I don't know if I trust him back-to-back years. Ronald Acuna, maybe? No.
What's his line at?
Minus 113 for 30. What does he look like?
He's just been a little more inconsistent. He hasn't played and he gets injured a lot.
Should do maybe we could do Aaron Judge. Should we hit an Aaron Judge 50?
Yeah, he's been the most consistent. Yeah, he's gotten 50 the last 3 seasons.
Aaron Judge or Shohei for 50. Judge had 53 last year. Shohei had 55. Ohtani has had. Where's home runs for Ohtani? That's pitching. I need to go to his batting. Hold on a sec. Shohei's had 55, 54, 44, 34, 46. Let me go see Aaron Judge. I would like one of the big fellas on this. Like that would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, he's gotten 55. Yeah, 55, 54.
And Judge has had 53, 58, 37, 62. He's had a 52 in there. I think Judge 50. Why not? Plus 110. Are we going out on a limb on that one?
Yeah, I mean, let's roll. I'm gonna get some of these questions. Anakin, what was the Inside of Lines facility like? What does it feel? What does it look and feel like? I mean,
what does it look and feel like?
It's just like you know, I when you walk in there, Colton saw Drew Petzing coming down and walking around. So shout out Drew Petzing. We got a chance to talk to him at the combine, but you know, it's just like any other NFL facility. It's super nice. Security, security and everything. Very nice. Bathrooms are very nice. You know, it's just a normal, expensive NFL facility. I really didn't get to tour it or anything. I just went to the media room, but yeah, it's nice in there. Matt and Mailbag, if the Lions ever win the Super Bowl, should Ford Field start selling "We Did It" shirts or just keep the next year ones in stock to be safe? You got to get the "We Did It" shirts. That you got to get the "We Did It" shirts.
Are those a thing?
You got to get the We Did It shirts, man.
I don't know those were a thing.
AG's burner mailbag. If Freeling and Fano are gone at 17, what do you want the Lions to do? Trade down or get an edge? I think if Freeling and Fano, so that means it would be like Akeem, I'm assuming, Akeem Mesidor, Blake Miller, Caleb Lomu, or Vega.
Well, how about that? Vega. Yeah, Vega. I'm starting to like it. What about this? What if Mesidor wasn't available with those guys as well? What are you doing?
Taking Vega.
All right, fair enough.
I think I'm just taking the best player. It's Vega. JC's mailbag. Francis Smalley, Noah, and Monroe Freeling are available at 13. Do you trade up for one or see if one falls to you at 17? It's a good question. 13. I don't know. I don't remember the draft.
I guess it depends. Like I think there's a world where it's like, hey, it depends a little bit on who is in front of you. I guess we have to start looking at who's like 14, 15, 16 to see if those are teams that need tackles. Like 13, I would say the Rams are a team you could argue might go tackle.
Yep. You need the Rams to go corner. You need the Rams to go corner. And if they do, you're in a better spot, and I probably would feel more comfortable.
For sure.
Like the Jets aren't taking another one. Let me see. Now I'm curious. Now you got me curious. Let me see. What do you say, 13? So you have the Rams, the Ravens, Bucks, and Jets. Ooh, I mean, Bucks are probably going to take an edge. Jets aren't going to take another offensive lineman. The Ravens are probably going to take an interior guy. But I guess they could go tackle. It's a risky game, but you might be okay. You might be okay letting one of those guys try and fall to you. Yeah, you might be okay waiting for one of those guys to fall to you. By the way, that guy up north asked a question. But before we do that, I forgot to bring this up. Ronald, appreciate the $5. I have a feeling they're going to move up in the draft and take the guard out of Penn State and let Larry Borom and Frazier battle it out at right tackle. It's not a bad take, Ronald. Vega's that guy. Me and Booner have been pro Vega guys. He's a stud, man. And if you want to just shore up the interior offensive line and be like, hey, Borom can we'll just patch together tackle. It's a pretty good interior. I mean, so I wouldn't be crazy upset. I really wouldn't. It'd be disappointing if they couldn't, I don't know if they'll move up and do it though. I think he'll be available at 17. If you move up in the draft, Ronald, you probably should take a tackle. I don't know if you should trade up for Vega, but if he's there,
I wouldn't be mad at the pick with Vega. I would be in on it. I think it just shores up, like you said, that interior, and I think it's a good thing. Like if you're looking to that's one of those things, Jeff. Honestly, where like Brad today even spoke about it. That's like a BPA move. He's his best player on the board, and I would be shocked if he's on the board. I guess I'd have to see who's on the board at 17, but I'd be shocked if you don't have him as one of your top players, BPA wise. Left if you're sitting there at 17 and he's available. I'd be shocked.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you there. That guy up north mailbag. Would you be mad drafting Sadiq, the best tight end, over the 5th best offensive tackle in round 1? It would free up many scenarios with Laporta. Yes, I'd be upset. I'd be upset. Because the thing is, that guy up north is not that I think your point about forcing your hand at tackle over a better player is a bad idea. It's that it's a tight end. That's where I'm against it. I think if your question was, would you rather force your hand and take the 5th best offensive tackle or take another player at another position like Vega we just brought up, or a defensive end or one of these, then yeah, I would take one of those players. But like, I don't think I'm taking Sadiq. Listen, I think Sadiq's a good player. I've told the boys this. I don't think he's a generational tight end that's going to be, you're taking him in the first round like Brock Bowers or, even like Tyler Warren or Colson Loveland went high. Like I like Sadiq, but I'm not taking him at 17. I'm not. I'm not a big fan of taking tight ends in the first round anyway, unless you're generational. And I think I think you can find some pretty good tight ends in this class past the first round. I'm not saying they're more talented than Sadiq, but I think taking a different position that I think arguable could be better, like Vega. You know what I'm saying? Vega is probably a better player, if not the same player, and he actually fits a better need, which is the offensive line, than probably Kenyon Sadiq. I get what you're saying. I think that's where I'd be like, you know what I'm saying? What about this? Nick P. Mansour Delane or Kenyon Sadiq? I'm taking Mansour Delane.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Especially like you don't know. Obviously, we don't want to.
There's a better. That's like an answer to your question, Neck Up North. That's like a good that's kind of what I mean there. Is like they could use the corner. And a corner is more valuable in my opinion than a tight end 2 year 1. Maybe eventually a tight end 1, but I think Delane could be your number 1 corner pretty quickly. So. Have you been cooking on that bet?
Yeah, I'm asking GPT something.
Oh, you and ChatGPT, man. Or is this bet going to be fueled by AI? Is this what we're doing?
Only 1 or 2 picks. I just want to there's a guy that I like. I'm just asking him, hey, will this guy hit 30 home runs this season? Short answer, yes, he's on the right line, but slightly favored to hit 30. Projected 30 on the dot. Depth chart says 31 to 32. Projection 29 to 30. Most models close to him right around 29 to 32. I'm gonna ask one more guy. Will Yordan Alvarez?
Blitzing line says Mailbag. What if they trade back and get Parker? I wouldn't be mad at it. If you trade back, get more assets, and you could get TJ Parker. I like TJ Parker. I would feel better about him if the Lions traded back. But yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that. Zach says Mailbag, does Adam still get crazy mad sometimes? Yes, he does.
Yeah, the thing with Adam is we'll randomly get a text message from him, mad about something, which I love. Like,
yeah, he still gets mad. I talked to him today about the Brad Holmes stuff. He was proud, but then we were talking about something else and he got mad. Not mad at me, but he's just going off about whatever. So it's hilarious. He's the best.
He might be one of the funniest humans that has ever walked this world.
He really is. He truly is one of a kind.
Yeah.
I mean, that word gets thrown around, but he really is one of a kind when it comes to human beings. So
I'm going to ask one more. Will Jose Ramirez, how do you spell Ramirez?
Brian Brady asked, do the Tigers get 100 wins this year? It's a great question. I would say at this point, I wish we would have been able to talk to Chris a little more. But I would say that's tough. I think their projection is like 85.5. So I mean, they got to clear probably 15 more wins on that projection. Play at about, a 60% win percentage. I think they'll get close. I don't know if they'll.
I don't think they're going to hit 100. I think they'll be like
maybe in the 85 to 95 range.
Yeah, I think that range is fair. Last year, I think they had 83 or 84. I could be wrong. I think it was about 84. I would think this year with the lineup that they have, especially the pitching rotation, I would think they would put themselves in a position to at least get 90 wins this year. They were on track last year to get 90 plus, and obviously the second half they fell apart a little bit post All-Star break. So you would think that a little bit, and we could talk more Tigers tomorrow too, because opening day Thursday they do play. And I don't know what time do they play Thursday, because I was going to figure that out, because we obviously might have a show. They play at 4:00. I wonder if Caleb's working. I wonder if Caleb would want to do a watch party. I don't know.
They play at 4 Thursday and then 9:40 Friday.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's tough. That's right when we're but that's fine. We can maybe do like a show and I got the bet.
Friday's not bad. That's like towards the end anyway.
Do you have your phone out? And people, get your phone out right now. Brian said he's from Lapeer, Michigan, kind of in my neck of the woods. Shout out Brian, man.
Shout out Brian. I got friends in Lapeer, so that's awesome.
That's my stuff. Every time Jeff goes there, he came through here one time to go to Lapeer and he didn't check in with me. I said, you better. He's going there next week. I said, you better call and check in. All right. Do you have your phone out? People, get your FanDuel open. No free ads. FanDuel is open. Open up your MLB. I know, Jeff, it's 10:01. Open up your MLB app. Yeah. Go to home runs. Go to X home runs. And first, we're going to the 30 market. Are you ready for this? 30?
Let's do it.
Riley Green and Julio Rodriguez. 30 home runs.
Okay.
40 home runs. Jeff, your guy, Kyle Schwarber.
Okay.
And we got 2 more 40 home runs. Are you ready for this? This is a safe bet. I'm making this safe for the people. I didn't want to do 50 with anyone. It kind of scares me because these guys are like 53, 55. If there's one injury, we're done.
On that mark. Yeah.
So instead of doing a guy at 50, I took Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge, both at 40 at minus 500. And it puts it over plus 1,000 without the boost.
I love it. That's good stuff.
So we're sitting with the boost. We're sitting at plus 1,400.
Love it.
Do you actually like that?
Yeah. Send me that. Send it. Honestly, send it in our group chat. Everyone should tail that. We should do like a whole freaking. Everyone should be on that.
And we should track it all year. It's a good home run. But I almost did. Honestly, I almost ended up doing Torque and Riley. But I was like, I feel like we can only cheer on one. Like doing both. It seems very, very scary. If I'm being honest. So
I like it.
That's what I'm doing. I just put it in.
There you go. You can rewind and check that out. We'll be on that one. Appreciate the support on today's show. Just the constant support lately from you guys. Please go subscribe. Hit the like button on the stream before you go and follow us on all social media platforms. All the links are in the description. Follow me at Jeff Iafrate, Booner at Booner Sports. We will catch you guys tomorrow. Day of the Doc is tomorrow. Don't forget, the Doc joins tomorrow. It'll be a great show. But until then, we will catch you.
Love you guys.
Peace.